What's going on, guys? So I'm just gonna dive straight into the video. So today we're talking about something, very, very important. And if you don't know about it, it's one of those things where you know about it or you don't, and you better put in place the things to prevent it before you actually know about it, right? And the thing that I'm talking about, right, is called probate. So I'm gonna dive straight into it. What is probate? So I'm gonna pull up the actual definition, right? So probate court, right? And this is in America. This is like the law. This is the law, and you have nothing to do about it, right? And you have, like, the thing is, you just want to put into place those things to prevent this, right? So probate court is something in America that you can't really, matter of fact, there is something to do about it. I'm going to share it in this video. But what I'm trying to say, probate court is here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. Probate court is here to stay, and it's not going anywhere. And you can either do something about it, right, or you cannot know about it until it's too late. And by the time you know about it, you're gonna be like, well, I should have listened to that one guy in that one video, right? So what is probate court? I actually have it on my phone, and I'm probably going to throw it up on the screen as well. So I'll read. Probate court. Probate court is a specialized court that manages the property and the debts of someone that has passed away, right? It ensures that the deceased creditors, right, the deceased with apostrophe S creditors are paid, and any remaining assets are distributed to the rightful beneficiaries, right? So I'm just gonna paint a picture, right? I'm gonna paint, a scenario, and then I'll talk more about it, right? Let's say if you're the head of the household. Let's say if you have all the money in your account, right? Because you're the head of the household and you're a designated, counselor of the funds in the house. I don't know, right? So let's say you have $400,000 in your 401k, $20,000 in your savings, and you have this and that, and then this and that, right? And you get into a car accident, or you get like a stroke or something like that. Not you specifically, but somebody you know. Words have power. I don't want to put that on anybody, right? But let's say that person passes away. Let's step back 2 steps. Let's say that person goes into the ambulance, right? Mind you, the ambulance costs money, right? You're gonna have to hold the hospital, right? And boom, the person is in the ER and he passes away, right? The hospital is trained to tell the state, right, your state, the country, essentially, as fast as possible that they have passed away, right? So as soon as someone passes away, the hospital notifies the state, all right, this person has passed away, and you might ask why, right? And I already read why, so I'm gonna read it again. Probate court is a specialized court that manages property and debts of someone who has passed away, right? Who has passed away. How do they find out? The state tells them. It ensures that the deceased creditors are paid and any remaining assets are distributed to the rightful beneficiary, right? So that person that just passed away still has, an estate, still has bills. Bills are called bills when you're alive, right? And estate are bills of a deceased person, right? So mind you, that person has passed away, but they still have a mortgage to pay, they still have loans to pay, they still have obligations, right? That creditors want to get paid, right? So essentially what the state does is probate court, right? The state is allowed to lock almost all of your accounts, right? Check-ins, savings, 401k, stocks, Bitcoin, municipal bonds, 529, which is the college savings, right? A majority of your accounts. There's only 2 places There's only two places that the government won't touch your money, right? Two basic portfolios, right? There is a third way for you to hide your assets, right? Or I don't want to say hide your assets. There is a third way for you to essentially avoid this probate, right? But if you don't know about it, you have all your money in a 401k or checkings and savings account, that is all susceptible to probate, right? So you knowing this, you have to allocate your money in places that the government is not allowed to touch. Because if you leave it in your 401k, your check-ins, your savings account, or any account that the government is allowed to touch upon, death for probate, right? You're just gonna freeze the money. The government is just going to freeze the money, right? The state is going to freeze the money. Now, let's say you're the head of the household and you're harboring all the money in your account, right? Too bad, right? So the first thing that's gonna suck is, right, the state is gonna freeze the account. And this is stuff that you can search up. The government is gonna freeze the account. The state is gonna freeze the account. And let's say if you have $400,000 in your check-ins, $400,000 in your 401k, what you worked or what that person worked for their whole life for, right? They work for that, right? And upon that, it's not going to go to their family. It's just going to be locked up, and the government or the state is going to see it fit to pay those people that you owe before they pay your family, right? Let's say if you have a 400k mortgage, or you have, a $30,000 car loan left on it, right? Left on the loan payment, right? And you have, let's say, like $500,000 or $400,000 in your 401k, they're going to take the whole 401k and they're going to use it to pay those people before they pay your family. So not only is that person deceased, right? But they're going to lock that account. And not only are they going to lock the account, just think of it, you were an earner for your income. You were an earner for your household. So now the income is slashed in half, right? So if you don't properly prepare for this, right, bankruptcy or poverty is along the way, right? It's along the way. So I have a couple things, right? 10 ways that probate court can, mess up you and your family, right? So delays access to money when it's needed the most. Your family could wait months or even years for the probate court to release funds. Meanwhile, bills, mortgage payments, and funeral costs don't wait. You need all of that now, not later. And let's say if your husband has or your wife has a $400,000 in his or her 401k, and you need to extract that to pay the bills, you can't even do that, because all of that money is locked into your probate court. It's locked for that. And sometimes you can't even talk to anybody. You can't even start the conversation until a year later after the death. I know somebody that, I don't even believe her, but I'll just still say it because it's still a possibility. She says that it's 9 years later and the probate court system process hasn't even started. So 9 years ago, her husband passed away, and they haven't even started talking about releasing the fund. The process to release the funds hasn't even started 9 years later. Don't be that, right? Eats away at your estate with fees, right? So this is court fees, lawyer fees, executor fees, right? Up to 5 to 10% of your estate can disappear before your family sees a dime, right? Because let's say if there's money left over, right? Let's say there's money left over for the family. 5 to 10% is gonna go to court fees, lawyer fees, and executor fees, right? That's chipping away at whatever you're supposed to be awarded, right? You thought you were gonna get the whole 400,000. You thought you were gonna get the whole $1,000,000, right? But no, it's gonna go to pay the mortgage or the rest of that mansion or the rest of your car payment or the student loans, or that even the same ambulance that took that person to the hospital, right? Even the same ambulance that took that person to the hospital, who's going to pay for that? That last medical bill, the government is still going to hold you responsible for it. And forgive me for laughing, but it's a little funny. It's honestly a little bit funny, right? So makes your finances public, right? Probate court is a public process. This means anyone, including scammers or creditors, right? Creditors can see what you own or who's inheriting it and claim what they deserve, or claim what they deserve. Who says that they deserve it? I know that you signed up for a loan or you signed up for that, and the company needs their money, but I think you know what I'm saying. Right? Sparks family fights. I don't want to go too much into that. Doesn't always follow your wishes. I don't want to go into that. Destroys privacy and death, right? From bank accounts to debts to valuables, everything becomes a public record, right? Say goodbye to keeping your financial life private. Everyone's going to know about it. Puts kids at risk, right? If you have minor children and no guardianship plan, the court decides who raises them, right? Yes, this is serious, right? That's more of like something like a trust, right? That's not really too much of my field, so I'm not going to go into that, right? This is financial education, right? Opens the doors to creditors. I already touched on that, right? Probate court notifies creditors, giving them a chance to swoop in and claim what they're owed before your family or their family gets it, right? This is tipping off everyone if you don't have the proper things set into place, right? And I'm going to give you the answer, so stay to the end, right? And I already talked about this. Freezes all of your assets, right? Freezes all of your assets, right? Without properly setting up what you have to do in order to avoid this, or allocating funds into, the proper place, or a place that can avoid this, or a place that the government can't look at or hold you responsible for probate court, right? Everything gets locked. And right now, I am allowed to talk about two places. And to me, right, these two places are very, very, very real, very credible places, right? And stick to the end. I'm going to tell you where these two places are, right? Or I'm going to give you more information. I'm going to give you more access on how to access that information, right? So everything gets locked until the court sorts it out, even joint bank accounts. So let's say if you have a joint bank account with your wife, right, and she passes, even joint bank accounts aren't safe, right? Even joint bank accounts aren't safe. So this also wastes time that you don't have. All right, I'm going to say this very, very loud and slow. Grieving families do not need more stress. Probate piles on delays, paperwork, and legal headaches at the worst possible time, right? Probate court is a trap, and it's one that's easy to avoid with proper planning, right? And I'm going to show you, right? If you click that link down below and sign up for our financial class, right, I'll show you one of the fastest and cleanest ways to get your money into your family's hands immediately and build a legacy, right? Bypassing the probate court completely, right? This is one of those things where you just know about it or you don't. The average American doesn't really know about these things. The average American, I promise you, does not know about this. And this also goes for Canadians as well too, right? The average person doesn't really know about it until it's too late. That lady that I told you about, I asked her, do you know what probate court is? And she says, oh yeah, believe me, I do. She didn't say I just, somebody else said I just, but she said I had a death in the family, and believe me, it's 9 years later and we still haven't heard anything, right? So 9 years later from the day of somebody's death, the government can freeze your whole account, right? They can freeze your assets, right? Except these two places that I'm going to tell you in that meeting. They're going to freeze those assets, and you can't even access it until it goes through probate court process. And even after it goes to probate court process, even if there's money left over, they're still going to tax it because it's still considered income for that person that is going to get awarded it. Is that not crazy? Probate court is essentially, I'm not going to say it's a trap or it's not a trap, but take this financial education, take this education and do something with it. And if you don't believe me, do your own research and search up what probate court is. And then once you're done with that, come back and subscribe, because I just gave you a whole bunch of game. Like the video, share it to somebody, and go ahead and book that meeting, right? So book that meeting, and I'm thinking about having, financial meetings weekly, right? So just look out for that, and make sure you guys book a meeting one-on-one. So what you can expect from that meeting, I'm gonna give you a full financial class, like a financial education on this topic, right? And probate court is just one of the things. Probate court is literally just one of the things that you don't know about. There's other laws, there's other, rules or principles or things that you need to know to secure, financial success, right? So if you want to be financially successful, what you're going to do, you're going to go ahead and book that meeting down below and show up to the meeting on time, because it's going to be the best information that you have ever seen regarding financial education in this country, right? Or that you've ever seen in your life. This is stuff that they're not teaching you in school. This is stuff that no one else is going to teach you. This is stuff that is going to get your family to that next level. There's no reason why you should be in this country and not know this information. There's no reason why you should be in this country and not wealthy, right? There's only a couple things that you should be doing. There's only a couple things that is separating you from wealthy to where you are right now, right? We're building wealth, right? We're building wealth. And this information has been safeguarded from the general population for years, right? This is financial literacy, financial education. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure you book that link down below. So this was 10 ways probate court can, blank you over, right? 10 ways probate court can mess you and your family up, and essentially what was probate. So share this with somebody, and I'll see you in the next video.